All right, and we are live.
We are live.
Let me see if I can share this here from our Polish of Profits. There we go. Um, okay. So face looks a little different. You look like my buddy Nick.
Yeah, Nick's looking different.
Nick is MIA today. Feel really bad. This is the first time in a couple years we haven't heard from Nick, so I hope everything's okay. I'm gonna check on him, send him a few texts, but I'll check on him afterwards. I'm sure it's something there around the shop or something, but. Neither
Yeah.
here nor there. The show must go on.
Show is gonna go on. We're gonna
So we
try.
brought the next best guy in town, Mike Carlin. Step on in, brother. Never failing to save us in the time of need.
I was just in the middle of trying to respond to some emails because I've been on meetings. Oh well, you have been too. All our
Bro,
day's been meetings all day. And I'm like,
bro.
and then you called.
Yes.
I was like, yeah. So anyway, hopefully everybody's New Year is starting off better than. It's
Oh,
been a
I
rough
hope so.
2 days already.
It has, but this is what happens. When you got a lot going on, right? It's a lot going on. Everybody's hitting the ground running. Now, wait till next week.
Yeah,
Next week, when everybody kind of really gets ready,
yeah,
it'll be fun. It'll be fun. But it's just like anything else. You knock it out, you get it done, and then you move on. And next thing you know, you wake up 6 months from now and you've really done gotten somewhere.
right. Yep, and you get it all dialed in. So.
You do, you do. But anyway, so a lot going on, Mike, and we have a topic that we want to talk about, and I think that it suits you very well, coming with your background outside of the detailing industry, even while you were still in the detailing industry, kind of managing a shop from afar. You were running a big company, so we want to talk about team management, how to manage a team. And a conversation got struck up in our ambassador meeting, our IGL ambassador meeting last night, was how to incentivize our guys. And so I think it plays perfect into where we're going into 25. I think some teams are going to see growth as their business grows. They're going to need to manage teams. There may be guys out there that already have a team that are struggling with it. So I felt like, beginning the year here, we'd talk about that and kind of get your thoughts on that. I mean, I know it's a broad subject, so you feel free to start wherever you want. We'll just kind of see where it takes us.
Yeah, and for those that maybe don't have a team, there's a lot of people out there. We get asked all the time, like, when is it time for me to add somebody to the team too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's not just your current team; it's the team that you want to build this next year too. And there's a lot of things that a lot of parts to the pieces, to the puzzle when it comes
There
to
is.
building a team. Because obviously, when we build a team, we have more conflict
Oh,
too,
yeah.
or we have the opportunity of conflict, more
Well,
opportunities for conflict
you
because not
have
everybody
different
gets.
personalities. You
Yeah,
have all these personalities coming together that you've got to rally up and get on the same path.
yeah.
That's not easy.
And one of the things we talked about in the ambassador meeting was it's not only uh, you have the different conflicts from different people, the different mentalities, the different mindsets, and then you're going to try not only to get them to get along, but you also have to have them buy into what your goal is for the company this year,
Yeah.
right? So it can go on and on and on. So I ran a very successful company of about $110 million. We had about 450 employees,
Wow.
and we saw this all the time. Like as managers, we would always we had to learn our employees, right? Like how each employee wants to be talked to. Like I knew my employees that they don't want to hear anything. They just want to know what they need to
Just
do today.
just want to come to work.
Goal
Yeah,
is.
go to work.
And then I had the ones that if they got a cut on their finger, they wanted you to put the Band-Aid on, right? I mean,
Oh, you had a Rob too, huh?
yeah. Rob's listening probably,
I
right?
know he is. I know he is.
And that's the part as a manager or as an owner that you have to determine, like, what is the need of each employee, right? And then
Yeah.
how much how much do you decide to give? There's some give and
That
take
is
there.
Well, that's a dancing act, like how much of an open ear do you want to be? Because essentially you can be the problem sponge, and if you're there to hear every time they get a hangnail, it's like now my day's inundated with with their problems.
Yeah.
And so it's a very fine line, and I've been on both sides of it where I cared too much, and then I've had times in my life where I carried too little. And so you really got to find the common ground of what you will take inbound of them, from your team, and then what needs to kind of go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, and I've heard you say this before, and this is the same thing that we would kind of practice too. Is you always have these employees coming in with problems, and whether it's with their job or their employees, their coworkers, and it's all about, hey, if you come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution, right?
Yeah.
And usually we'd ask for at least 2 solutions because we know that one solution probably wasn't well thought out as it was. So, yeah, it's a very interesting topic. Along with that, we can look at it from the owner side, but then typically we all have a manager in place, right? An owner will put a manager in place. That person's in a very, very critical spot because you become a mediator for not only that employee, but for the ownership too, right? So you're trying to dance in between both sides.
Yeah, you're a filter to only let certain things go both ways, right? You're a two-way filter. You're only going to let so much get to ownership, and you're only going to let what ownership says to you down to your team. And it's a real, like you said, critical spot to be in as a manager. But you think about what sucks most of your time, right? People draw so much of your time, and if you allow them to bring problems to your desk all day, if you're building a team, right? Just imagine you're a detailer and you're building 3 or 4 people, and every time their vacuum stopped working or their polisher hiccuped or they ran into an issue, if they come running over to you, well, you might as well just stop polishing or stop, doing whatever you're doing because you can't get it done because you're solving their problems.
Right.
And you're hiring them to do a job. So essentially, they've got to come up with some critical thinking skills and problem-solving skills on their own and do a little self-help. That's what they're paid to do.
Right. And that's, you hit the nail right on the head because here's an example. Like, think of yourself as your detail shops, right? I have a small family ran detail shop. And then you have Dustin, who has a larger scale and a lot more pieces to it, right?
Yeah.
Along with the other businesses. And it took, even with our relationship, it took me a while to figure out why Dustin needs, this person to do this and this person to do this and this person to do this, because as we're smaller, we tend to take care of the problem ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we just need to, because we don't have the staff to do that.
Right.
And so there is a fine line, and I'm talking to the people that are getting to that point where they're going from a small and large scaling into a medium or a large scale. Sure. That's a tough spot because you at some point have to decide, okay, I've hired my team. This is their job. Now let's let them do it, so that you can start focusing on the other stuff that you need to focus on. And you truly can't build your business until you get to that point. I mean, you can, but it's a different level at that point.
It is, and it's difficult to understand when's the right time and when do I have enough money to add this piece. The question that I get a lot is, what piece do I add first? Where do I hire first? And my answer is always the same. What do you hate doing the most? Yep. And if you identify that, for me, it was sales. I hated sales. I will dig a ditch around this building, but I hate to operate in a sales. It adds anxiety to me like you have never seen. I'm a great people person. I like to talk to people. I'm not reclusive or anything like that. I just hate to talk numbers and sales with people like that. And so, that's the first thing I implemented at Easy In. The very first thing I did was put a couple pretty girls behind the desk that knew their shit and answered the phone. I don't know how we got to Rob, but no, I mean, seriously, I joke about that, but the first thing I did was put someone in place in sales, and I've kept someone there in the entire time because I know that's not where I excel, or that's not where I want to be. Let me rephrase that.
Right. Well, and it shows that it works. I've been at the boat show even or even at your show, at your shop, and you can see, at the end of the day, hey, Dustin, I booked
Yeah.
$20,000 in jobs today. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't happen just by you or I, most likely, because we don't give it the attention, right?
That's right.
Um, that's their job. That's the attention that they're going to do, and it's very much so. That's the small. I know we're getting off track a little bit. Like the small companies struggle with a little bit because you get so wrapped up into the duty you're doing now. Like, hey, I'm detailing a vehicle, or I'm
Yep.
ceramic coating something, and I'll be the first to admit there's been times where I see a car pull up, and I'm like, dang it, I'm in the middle of something, and I roll my
Yep.
eyes, and it's like, no, that's business.
That's
Like that's
right. That's what keeps the. I do the same thing. Like, a customer comes in and stops me, and I'm rushing out to go, and I'm like, oh man, I really don't have time to have this conversation. But you got to have the conversation. Like, you
yep,
got to. Thinking about that, I always look at something when I'm hiring for somebody. It's like, think about if somebody spends 40 full hours a week on something. Like when I was doing sales and ops and things like that. Like when I was wearing all the hats. Like I was giving sales probably 6 hours a week. Like real hours, like working towards that. So if I put somebody in sales role, they're 40 hours dedicated to selling. Like
mhm,
that's a significant amount of time to fill the schedule.
right,
And so like that's the benefit. Here's what has worked for me though is you have to establish KPIs that allow them to report what they've done for the day,
right,
because without that, like there's never a feeling of accomplishment if you don't have some way to track your progress and success. There's no feeling of accomplishment. It's just show up every day, do what you're told to do, and that's what we don't want robots. I mean, as good as that sounds, we want people here, and I think that helps them tremendously.
well, and there's a study. It's I don't remember the percentage, but people want to be successful.
Sure.
Most people don't want to, like, when you think about the individual that's working at your place right now, somebody that you're like, man, I just wish they'd do better. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, did you set them up for success? And it could be through KPIs, goals, whatever, because most people are wired to want to succeed. There's going to be a few of them out there. I get
You're
it.
right.
There's
There's the bad
bad
apples. Yeah.
apples, but most of them want to be able to succeed. And if we don't give them the tools to be able to see that, they'll never feel accomplished at that point, and then
Oh,
they get unhappy, and then they start looking somewhere else. So
I truly believe there's probably 90% of the people that have ever left me in business was probably my fault, not theirs. When there's 10% that like never belonged here in the first place.
right,
But that there's a large portion that says we weren't ready for them.
right,
Okay, and when you're growing a business, chances are you don't have the full process that they need, the onboarding, the here's everything dialed out. So you're like, hey, I'm hiring you to help me solve this problem, not because I have this problem solved and I just need you to sit in the seat.
yep,
That's small business 101. Like, I can't wear all these hats. Here, you grab this hat for a minute. And so, anytime, if someone is not prepared to operate in that capacity for a certain period of time, then they do get frustrated and leave. Maybe they, belong in a corporate world or medical or something like that where it's really structured and like,
yep,
here's the process, here's the education. Like, small business world is a little different. We have you come in here, you put out the fire, this fire, and you may go over here and put out this fire. Now, it is more structured 10 years later. 10 years down the road, my detailers, like when I onboard a detailer, it's a lot smoother. Like, we know exactly what they're going to come in and do. We know exactly what we need to teach them to start with. But used to, it was like, bro, clean the wheel. You know what I mean? Like, start there, and when you get done with that, come see me. you know?
it was almost
And,
annoying. Did you just go do something?
yes.
Like,
Yeah, just like, yeah, there's got to be some french fries you can vacuum. I don't know what to tell you. Just get out of my hair. And that's sad, right? Like,
yeah,
that's sad, but that is the truth. And I'd love to make it sound better than that. I mean, but now we have standard process. Like, we have procedures in place, but it's not, perfect. And also you have to have people in place that help you manage that and run that. And, well,
and
we have a
and
solid
you're
team.
bringing up a good point. You have to have people in place that can train,
Oh,
right?
yeah, big
Like,
time.
I'll be honest. Like, I mean, the IGL stuff, it's because it's a passion. I can sit down and train somebody, but like, if
Yes.
you tell me today you're going to put somebody in the detail shop with me, and I need to show them how to detail a car, I will just do it myself. I don't want to teach you at that
Yeah.
point because it's I don't have the ability to slow down at that point. So
Right.
some of us aren't good trainers, right?
Yeah.
So as owners, so you may have to decide like I am not the trainer for this person. I need to step back and have people do that. So
Yeah, and that's essentially like I am when it comes to like the skilled labor side of things. So I've done all the polishing and correcting, and I've taught my people in my shop. They kind of learn from me. Most of them here learn from me. And well, I'd probably say 90% of them learn from me. But like I was not a great teacher because I was like, you just need to figure it out like I did.
yeah,
And here's what you do. I have developed that now where I can step into what they're doing and say, hey, where are you at in this process? Where, and guide them along and give suggestions. But at the end of the day, like for me to train, I enjoy training on business, and I enjoy like implementation of KPIs and automation and things that are fun. Like that's fun for me. So like where you like to train on the technical aspect, like you can teach spraying agents. That's your baby. That is your thing. You love it. You thrive at it. I like to stand up in front of that same class and talk about business and talk about the things that's going to help them evolve. And that's how like mine and your kind of split is.
right,
Even though we can both do both sides of that, like we both kind of channel that way.
right. No, no, I agree. Um, so so speaking of KPIs, so like part of establishing your team, obviously we need to have goals, and I think
Hmm.
99% of the people probably listening are detailers
Yeah.
out there, detail business owners of some type. So why don't we talk a little bit about KPIs real quick so that we can put that goal in place for the employees? Because if you're going to manage them, you got to give them expectations. You got to give them realistic KPIs. So what
Yeah.
kind of KPIs do you have at your shop?
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be overly complex, right? You establish KPIs by saying what metrics, what numbers do we use to know that our team is having a successful day. So in my shop, we talk openly about dollars. How many dollars did we generate? So we use that as a production number. How many dollars did we produce that day? So that's a big number for us. We have a gross produced and a net produced. All right. Our shop, we need to generate, our goal is to generate $4,000 a day in work. Okay. That's our gross production number. Discounts and comps come off of that. The reason that we talk to our shop about the gross production number ahead of discounts and comps would be they shouldn't be punished for work that the sales team had to adjust to make a deal, right? They shouldn't be discredited for that work. They did the work. Sales team had to make an exception for some reason. Maybe it's a comp job, maybe it's a relationship building aspect, maybe it's an added value piece. But the shop did the work.
Right.
We're just not going to collect the money. So production number, how many dollars did you produce today? That's always a good one. Number of jobs out the door, a physical count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many vehicles did I get out the door? The reason we count number of vehicles is because we may at some point want to know average job.
Per.
Okay, average dollar per job. If we take how many dollars we produced and how many jobs it took to get there, we divide that number, and now we know how many dollars per job are we averaging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then we take so some other metrics in our shop are hours worked. How many hours were worked out there? So if I have 10 guys out there and they work 8 hours, that's 80 hours a day. The reason we do that is now we can take that same production number, how many dollars did they produce, and divide it by the number of hours worked, and guess what? We have the dollars per hour produced. So we have our shop rate.
Yep.
What did we generate? And then there's a few others. QC ranking, what that tells us quality. Let's see, what are some of the other shop KPIs? I'm just drawing a blank, man, and I look at them every single day. And I've looked at them every single day for 10 years or 11 years now. But so that's your general shop KPIs. Oh, so things like redo work. If you have a customer come back and we missed something, or we forgot to do something, that redo dollars. How much would you have charged for that service? All right, let me tell you something about redos. Redos are more than just the cost of redo. Redos are so expensive, and here's why. First of all, to do the redo, you are not getting paid for it.
Right.
So now you are paying someone to do work that you're not getting paid for. Second of all, that person is supposed to generate dollars per hour
Today.
on paying jobs.
Yeah.
So now we're working on something free, we're going negative, and we're also taking them off of something that would be paying. So where if my shop should be producing $75 an hour per person, then it's costing me about $225 per hour to do a redo. That's heavy hitting. So we want to track redos very closely. We want to know what's coming back to us and why. How is that getting past our QC process?
Mm-hmm.
How is that getting out the door to come back? So redo number is big. Discounts and comps are big. Heck, I think that's probably it in a nutshell. So some of the things now, if we're talking about detailing, some of the sales KPIs, you want to think about conversion percentage. How many jobs are you getting versus? And you can make this real simple. If I give $10,000 today out in estimates, and I sell $5,000 of that work, so I have 5,000 scheduled, and I leave 5,000 open. I closed at 50%.
Right.
So I have 5,000 open, 5,000 scheduled. So those are the numbers I'm tracking. I'm also tracking, so I'm tracking my collection number. How many dollars are coming in? Because that's telling me how is my shop getting the work completed and getting it out the door to the person. So it doesn't, like the shop can produce X amount of dollars, but if sales isn't getting it picked up, then that starts to backlog. So you got collections. You also, if you have any kind of terms with anybody, that also affects that. So you have like AR, like what's sitting out in collections. And then you have things like website traffic, site visits, because that's going to tell you your marketing side of things. Retention, how many customers are coming back. So all these things, but I don't think, that's deeper. That's when you get to where you've got all these other KPIs dialed in and you want to add more. But start in your shop. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, starting basically, you want to start basic.
Start simple.
Simple. And that will really hold that person accountable. And you're talking about the easy inside between the outfitters and the detail, but we do this through everything.
Every department.
IGL, it's return customers, old customers that maybe came back and purchased, or daily cart value to there's all that stuff, and it's
warehouse, how much shipped out,
defects, missed shipments to it goes on and on and on. And then our ambassador group has a whole nother that we just implemented. So it's very, very important, and that's where you get the true buy-in. And that's why I wanted you to explain that, because I think as managers or owners, we don't always understand that if we don't get the buy-in from the employee, or we don't give them the expectations, which your KPIs to your employees, that's their expectations. Really,
that's their expectations.
That's their expectations.
So you know what KPIs did for me is it took a hard job and made it easy. So a subjective job is to tell someone you're not doing a good job. Mm-hmm. Okay? Like if I just feel like, okay, you're just not performing like I need you to, that's a hard conversation to have, because how can you gauge that? Well, you're not out in the shop all day. How do you know I'm not doing a good job? However, if I have KPIs in place and every one of my bays are producing $2,000 a day, and I have one bay that produces $600 a day on average, then it's not real hard to think this guy's probably not doing a good job.
Right.
He's not performing at an expectation. Numbers are definitive. They say this is what happened definitively, right? Yep. Now there are contributing factors. Maybe he had less paying jobs. Maybe he's been sick. He or she. I mean, we have women in the shop too. I'm sorry. But numbers for me took that subjectiveness out of it. When I go to reprimand somebody or like address an issue, I start at the KPIs. Here's where we're at. Here's where we should be. Tell me what's causing that. And we look at them daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. So that's what KPIs did for us.
Yeah. And I remember back a long time ago before I managed a shop, we had I was actually a machine operator. And I remember our machines being put on KPIs. But ours were like screens that would go red, green,
Like
yellow, red, green,
metrics.
yellow. Yeah, like
Oh, I
all
love it. I love it.
the and
See, I love that shit.
but as you know, and what that did to like my team, because I was like the lead of that area for the machines, it forced you like we wanted to see green. Like if it got
Yeah, you're
into
trying to
yellow,
beat your numbers.
you're beating your numbers, and that's what your team will do is they want to beat their numbers, and that's going back to how I say most people want to succeed. They don't want to fail.
Yeah,
But
they really do.
are we setting them up for success, or are we setting them up for failure?
Yeah, and you don't have to overcomplicate it. You guys, you heard the numbers that have been established over years. I mean, you can take a couple simple numbers, and what's going to happen once you start tracking a few and you get consistent, you're going to want to add one, and you're
Yeah.
going to want to add one. So, and do that. Get you a spreadsheet and just keep it going. List the days. Start with the daily, and you got to track them daily. Don't try to don't try to get to the end of the week and go, well, what did I do on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Make it a part of your daily routine. And make the numbers easy to get. It shouldn't be super complex where you have to like go to 1,000 places to come up with this number, right? One cool one is money in, money out. Like for like business, young entrepreneurs that are struggling to manage money. The very first thing I like to put in place is it's a cash statement piece where you say how much did I spend today and how much did I bring in today. It's real simple. If you understand that you're bringing in more than you're spending, you're a profitable business. You don't even need a set of books to tell you that. You need a few line items in your checking account.
Yeah.
But it also puts you in touch with what's happening within your business, and it allows you to go, am I overspending at times? So a simple money in, money out. You know, how many dollars came in today? How many dollars went out today? You do that enough over time and you'll start to see a trend. Am I always just spending every dollar I bring in? Well, if I am, then this business is not profitable. This business is simply a hobby that turns money, you know? And that's not, you know, I'm not driven by profits, but profit is the grade of the business.
Right.
That's how you determine how well the business runs.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it is really like balancing your checkbook, right? If you don't ever balance your checkbook and all you wait until the bank tells you have an overdraft,
Yeah.
business will be the same way. If we don't know where our KPIs are, we never know how we're doing until it's too late, right?
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, no, it's some good stuff there. Little tidbits.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think that we have these conversations all the time with guys, and it never fails. It's this time of year when business slows down and everybody's hit the panic button, and they're like, "What do I do? What do I do?" And there is no easy button. There is no like quick fix. The first thing I do is, well, what numbers can we look at? What did you do last year? Oh, I have no idea. Well, if we knew what we did last year, then we wouldn't be panicking because we might be slightly better than last year.
Yeah.
So I compare my KPIs to each year because I can look back and tell you exactly what I did this week last year. And I can tell you that for the last 10 years. And I can tell you what the weather was like on those days. Because that's information that's valuable. If it was an ice storm last year and we shut the shop down and we generated $6,000, I'm not expecting to do $6,000 this week. I'm expecting to do $20,000 this week because it ain't an ice storm. So you need to know that. So then that also gives you peace of mind. If I didn't have my KPIs, I'd be stressed out because I don't know how's marketing performing. Like, how are these things, you know, like what, I mean, we can just put a number out there, but like, we don't know what's real. So by tracking that, yeah, we get it. We're always stressed out anyway, though.
Yeah, no, it's a guessing game.
It is.
So,
it is.
No, that's some good stuff. What else is
Okay. Yeah, on a lighter note, let's talk a little bit of goal setting with what we have coming up. And the reason I like to talk about this, Mike, is because you are one of the few people in my life and that are around me on a regular basis that get it, that get setting something out there so crazy, so far, so big that you that everybody else goes, "What? You're doing what?"
You know, I just go along with it.
No, I didn't tell you to go run 3,000 miles. And by the way, I think that's one of the biggest goals I've ever seen. And you achieved it. Running 3,000 miles in a year, Mike did that last year in 23.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, to see that commitment, and what was it, 9 miles a day every
Yeah.
day? I mean, that was the average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually just saw that come up the other day, the start of it on my memories. And the first day I started, I went 15.6. I banked up some
Yeah.
hours,
You're
some miles.
crediting. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's going to be fun because I tracked, it's not a KPI, but I track that every day pretty much on Facebook.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting. I'll be able to see that this year. But yeah, goals are equally important to both of us. I mean, I know I probably don't get to the level of documenting and to hold myself accountable as much. You're a numbers guy and you've got a seat in front of you and you analyze it.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
I'm just kind of the one that says I'm going to do it, and I just do it, and somehow it's
you're
done.
a gut. A lot of your stuff is the way you feel, and like you put it out there, and you're just going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
Mine is like I put it out there so I can break it down. And I can digest it and I can plan it. And a lot of the fun for me, that's what's weird for me is like that's the fun stuff. Like I don't even care about what we're gonna do. I like the planning aspect of it. I like to talk about it. I like to map it out and say, okay, these are the things that we have to do to make this happen. Like that's the fun stuff for me. And then, oh, by the way, we're gonna do this thing. What we're referring to, by the way, for those of you that aren't following Mike and I, is a 650-mile canoe race. From the top of Alabama all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. And for those of you that don't know this, is Mike and I have never sat in a canoe together. And Mike and I probably have never sat in a canoe, period.
I mean, maybe once or twice.
Jokingly, what got this kicked off is I did race a little 12-mile canoe race with a friend of mine, and we won it. And as soon as we won it, I was like, yep, I'm going to do the 650. So you're not talking to two experienced veteran paddlers here. You're talking about two guys that picked a goal so big that most people don't do. I mean, I think there's only 15 or 16 people that have ever completed it, period. So this is an elite group. And if we told one of those guys that we were going to go do it, they'd probably say you absolutely lost your mind because you don't paddle, right?
And in fact, Dustin signed us up before we even qualified, which is we have to qualify yet.
Yeah.
Not only signed us up, paid for it. Like the woman's like, hey, you have to qualify. Yep, we'll go race.
I said, I'm going to do that. I just need to know that we have a seat in this race. Because here's what I do know. And this is why I speak about it a lot. This is why I put it on Facebook a lot. Is because, like, if you just think about it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
However, if you put it on the calendar and you pay for it and you talk about it and you tell everybody about it, dude, it's hard to back out then. It's hard to back out. And I was worried Mike was going to back out. So I signed us up sitting at SEMA. As soon as the registration opens, I go in there and the lady calls me. She's like, I don't see your qualifying registration. I don't have one yet. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, what I mean is we're going to race this race, but we're going to have to qualify this year. And she's like, okay, I will accept that, but you have to qualify. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to do that. Like, I'm not worried about that part. Like, that's just another race. I'm coming to do this 650, whether you like it or not.
So it's going to be good. I enjoy the text messages I get where it says, this has lots of gators and snakes and whatever else is in this river that we're going to be canoeing down.
Rivers and lakes and
lakes. In fact, the one day what was interesting when I was down there and we went by, I don't know, that bridge and there was all the big ships out there, the cargo ships.
Oh yeah, that's the Mobile River ship channel.
That's where we're gonna be. We're gonna be going right through there. I'm like, then big.
No, they're huge, man. They're cargo ships. They're ships. The cruise ship ports in there, and we're gonna paddle a 4-inch canoe through there.
So
we're gonna die. We gotta cross the bay in that said canoe.
So I mean, this kind of brings back to our employees, right? So this is why it's important to have a team around you. You know, not to help us get through the race, but we have about 7 to 10 days that we need people to be able to do their jobs. You know,
Absolutely.
or not just do their jobs, actually do over
Run the
and
company.
run the company.
So
You
yeah,
know,
take over what we're doing, and that's a lot to do. There's a lot to be said about that, and the trust that we have in those guys, in that team to do that. And you know what, like when I think about stuff like that, I think we put in so much work and so much time for our company to be able to completely separate. And you know what's crazy is we wouldn't even consider doing a vacation where we're not like at least getting a daily meeting in or something. And we're fixing to load up in a canoe for 7 days. I have a feeling we're going to end up on a meeting or something. Like I have a feeling there's going to be a daily call.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know how. Maybe our phone in our plastic bag or
It's
something.
going to be when we're supposed to be like porting and sleeping for an hour. We're going to be on meetings.
Yeah, yeah. Swing in here, dude. We got to jump on this Zoom
Yeah.
call.
So
But the thing about the setting goals are it just gives you a path. It gives you something to commit to, and I think that it keeps you out of trouble.
yeah,
I think we can fall into ruts. And when I say trouble, I don't mean like literally, but the ruts that we can get in personally, where we're not as productive as we want to be, and life is just kind of happening around us. If you have a goal that makes you so self-disciplined and so driven that you can't help but get your ass up and get to work every day and do these hard things because that's the goal, then everything and everybody around you kind of steps up.
yeah, and it's like what you're saying. It's a mindset, right? And your goals will help with your business mindset, with your relationship mindset, with whatever mindset that you're looking for that day. I mean, if you don't push yourself, there's nothing that's going to build you more than when you push yourself to a goal that seems impossible. You
That's
know,
right.
so and none of that. It's the people around you that um, become motivated. You know,
Absolutely.
whatever it is, whether it's that run, it's the Ironman, it's the 75 hard, it's running a business, whatever it is, it gives that. There's so many people that get motivated by individuals that you don't even know how
Absolutely.
people you're motivating each day.
No, you don't. You never do. You never know who's watching and who's driven by that. And what's really cool is when somebody messages you and says, "Hey, man, I see you're doing this thing. It got me to do this thing." And it's like the coolest experience to find out someone's been watching you all along the way and has changed their life for the better. And that's what's really cool too.
So like I do my daily posts, my own it post, right?
Yeah.
And doing
Yeah.
that, I think it came up the other day. I've been doing that for almost 8 years, and
Wow.
And I got to a point where I quit doing it for about, it was only like a week. And, because I just thought I had a couple
It,
bad days and somebody actually said, sorry, not everybody can own it. And so
oh,
I actually quit for like a week. And I
yeah.
had so many messages that said, hey, dude, is everything okay? Why aren't you posting? And that was a switch right there. I'm like, I can't believe how many people, I don't care if you
Actually,
like it or not. There's so many people that do gain something from it that are
sure.
motivated by it. So why not do it? So, and that's exactly what these goals do for us.
Oh,
There's
it
people
is.
that reach out all the time, tell us we're crazy or whatever, but
Yeah.
there's always them people that are like, man, I can't believe it's so cool. And,
Yep.
good for you guys.
It's
So,
it's what fuels us. It does. No, man, I think that's awesome. I had no idea you'd been doing it 8 years. I knew you'd been doing it a long time.
yeah,
And that's really cool because the commitment side of that, and at times I'm sure you get little engagement. There's like no reward in
yeah,
the immediate, so you have to. It's just straight up discipline. Like it's just the
yeah,
thing I do, and I do it for whatever reason. And it's like, but then you stop for a minute, and then everybody seems to acknowledge it.
yeah,
It's just like the podcast here. We've been shooting this for 5 years, right? And then the moment we don't have an episode, like it's like people message in like, "Hey man, what happened today?" I'm like, you like, I didn't realize you don't realize that people like watch this
yeah,
continuously, And I'm like, it's just us, man. Like you just call me.
yeah.
Oh
So,
man,
all right. So, as far as other things going on, we might as well plug it in now. I mean, we got some
yes.
trainings coming up, right? for
Absolutely.
IGL. I know this is an IGL one, but we might as well mention it.
No,
Um,
we need to. We need to.
if anybody's out there and they want to get trained up on anything, we have a lot of things coming up this year. We
We
have
do.
our marine trainings, we have
Hmm.
residential trainings, we have industrial trainings, we have some ceramic trainings. The other thing we don't advertise a lot, but trying to get into some business trainings, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where anybody that's listening to this KPI to managing to we had one of our ambassadors asked about like bonus structures, pay
Yep.
structures, all that type of stuff. I think that's all crucial things, and I know you have some good material on that.
Hmm.
And then of course we have our PPF side of things that we just took over
Yep.
as of
PPF intent.
January 1st. So PPF intent. So if you're looking for something, make sure you reach out to one of us, or we have it posted. Reach out to one of our reps, and we'll get you going on that. But great way to pivot your business.
Oh, it is. It is, and there's so much more to trainings than just training. Like it's so much more than just wiping on a product. Like
Mhm.
that's what if I could just tell everybody that the experience that you have when you're at trainings between network, between Q&A with people like myself and Mike and Joel Lapalm and these, the people that have been there and done that. And I'm not saying we're somebody special, but I can say that we'll sure tell you what we've done wrong and help you steer you from doing those things.
Right.
But between that, the relationship aspect of it, the product knowledge, so that way when you're doing something, you truly understand. I mean, you're talking to the manufacturers of a product. We make the product, and we're going to teach you how to use the product.
Right.
So it's different where you don't have to learn by fire. When I started detailing, the only person around that was teaching was Mike Phillips. And it's like there wasn't any formal trainings. And so, like now, we have a plethora of those, and IGL we focus a lot on the family aspect of it, the relationship aspect of it. We're going to teach you how to use the product. We're going to teach you how to implement things into your business. We're going to talk to you about software. We're going to talk to you about the things that you need to put in place to make a successful business run. Right, and that's all like encapsulated in our trainings at each one of them: marine, automotive, residential, or industrial, which is the Aegis training that has been wildly popular. And all that can be found at iglcoatingsusa.com/trainings. Our training schedule is there. There's frequent asked questions there. You can pay there. You can use Afterpay, so you don't even have to pay right now. You can pay in chunks. I know money's tight coming out of Christmas, but if you can use Afterpay, stretch it out, it charges you, a couple bucks. I mean, it's minimal. And you keep your cash flow right. And then APEAKS, we have training scheduled in February. But I believe we've got to set the rest of the schedule out for the first half of the year.
Yeah,
I know there's February, is there March too?
There's some at the end of March too. We got both
Okay.
window tints by then and
Yeah.
some PPF. So, but yeah, no, and yeah, the Afterpay is great. Great way of don't forget some of the big ones coming up, guys. If you're going to MTE, you got the
Yes.
residential and ages and a PPF one around that time coming back from MTE. So if you're making the trip to MTE or you're in the area, there's some
Right.
residential and ages PPF there. And then the big one, I mean, there's a lot of them on there, but to take note of is when we go to the SEMA garage in March.
Oh yeah, man, that place is amazing.
Great training there. This year we're gonna do more than just an automobile. We're gonna do a marine.
Yes.
So the first marine training for us at SEMA garage.
And
So
that facility is amazing. I don't give a shit if you care anything about training. Pay the dollars and come to see that garage. Just come up there and see that. I'm telling you right now, that is like elite of the elite garages. It's my dream shop and office. Like I told Mike, I said, if we ever make it in this world, we're going straight to SEMA garage and buying that place. Because I just love it, man. I don't know what I'm going to do in the 6 months of winter up there. I'm just going to have a satellite from Florida.
Well, it's big enough. We can just stay in there.
Well, I'm staying. I'm just live there. But anyways, yeah. So I mean, there's tons of value in these things packed to the walls with value. And I don't just say that lightly. Not to mention, we give you a credit on product. We give you a little bit of promotion there at the last day to buy some product at a discounted price. We do the things that we know you need to do to help, get you there. We're going to help you out along the way. If you're traveling to Mobile Tech, dual purpose the trip. Don't come to Mobile Tech and then fly to go to SEMA Garage, and do a trip. If you're going to Mobile Tech, catch the trainings while you're there. You cut the cost of travel in half. You can divide it up. So half the cost was for SEMA or for Mobile Tech, and half the cost is for the training. Now you cut the cost in half.
Yep. And you get the credit, like what you said.
Exactly. So, anyways, man, I love to talk to you, Mike. I appreciate you jumping in here last minute. I hope that Nick is okay. We're gonna do some Q&A. Is that right? Or comments? Okay, got it. Bring them up. We had some comments happening. All right. IGL code is good KPIs also mean people on the team will know if they're falling short without even having to meet with them. Exactly.
100%.
Exactly. It's self-help. Like, hey man, I see this is happening. I can straighten this out. Love it. But who wants to miss a meeting? I mean, come on, guys. Those are so much fun. Jordan Lee, KPIs are a great way to hold yourself accountable as well. Learn from your own strengths and weaknesses as well as the employer. Yes, absolutely, Jordan Lee. Brendan Lambert, good afternoon. Words of wisdom there. Brendan's awesome. He said in our meeting this morning, he joined by Zoom, the manager's meeting and the shop meeting that I hold. He was wanting to, he's growing his shop, wanting to know how to motivate his guys, and he asked if he could step in, and honestly, I forgot he was there, so we just carried on the meeting, and there ain't no telling what he heard. We carried on the meeting just like normal, and then Rob's like, yeah, Brandon was there. I was like, oh shit, I completely forgot about that. So he got a true, natural, easy in meeting, which is an experience, by the way. Anthony Passol, good afternoon, gentlemen. That's my brother from another mother right there. All right, Tate Trout, man, long time. What's up, brother? How are you? Glad you're watching, man. Good to see you.
Colorado.
Yeah, I bet it's cold up there. All right. What is it, Jordan? Remember to scoop the water, not slap it. Hey, that's the truth. Okay, so what I did learn is you got to get down in there and then it's form, Mike. It's form. Scoop, not slap. If I'm getting sprayed because you're popping the water, I'm going to be very mad. I'm staying in the back so I can keep an eye on you.
So you can sleep.
Yes. Mike. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Now that's a class act right there, man. Great guy.
Just anybody watching, don't forget Mike is up in the running for Marine Detailer of the Year. Yes. Shout out to Mike.
Absolutely, and to everyone that was nominated for the IDA awards, I tell you, it's not taken lightly. You got to be nominated. It's written. I sit on that committee that's part of that process, and I tell you, it's really cool to see that experience. Now, Easy In is in this year, but I'll just tell you how that process works. If your company is involved in any of it, they make you get out of that meeting, so there's no corruption there. So I didn't know that Easy In was nominated outside of. They asked me to leave the meeting, so I kind of assumed that was the case.
I'm gonna
crash him. Come on, brother. Come on. We'd love to have you. Nice link to the training site. Yeah, go listen, guys. Go on there. If you don't have the cash right now, use Afterpay. It makes it real simple. You can jump in there and pay it in payments. You get $315 worth of product in most of our trainings. Not every one of them, but in most of them we do that. I know up in the industrial, the Aegis one, we're going to do that, and I think the residential one will have that as well. So make note of that if you're coming to MTE. Dual purpose that trip. All right.
That's it.
That is it. Listen, I do want to mention that, I don't know what's going on with Nick, but we want to make sure that he's happy, healthy, and everything's great. I'm sure we'll find out. Maybe everybody say a little prayer for him, make sure that he's okay, because to miss Polishing Profits is a big deal, man.
It is.
All right. Thanks for jumping on last minute, Mike. Appreciate you as always, and we'll see you guys